Okay, we should be live. I believe it's recording now. Hi, everybody. My name is Dylan, and I'm thinking about doing some Twitch streams where what we'll do is we'll go through some philosophy books. And my goal in all of this is going to be to teach you a little bit more about what it means to really read a text closely. Um, so while the philosophers that we do study in this will be interesting people, and of course some of my favorite stuff, the point of the class is actually to look at them first and foremost, but also to just help people to kind of boost up their creative skills and their critical thinking skills by really reading deeply into some of these texts. The first philosophy text that I plan to do here is called The Ethics of Ambiguity. It's a book by Simone de Beauvoir. She is a French existentialist philosopher who spent a lot of time with Jean Paul Sartre back in the day, and he was quite famous as well. But basically, these people ate, slept, and drank philosophy every day, all day, their entire lives. Really remarkable folks. They were very talented. I remember, I believe, Sarah Bakewell saying that Simone de Beauvoir picked up and just read Heidegger's Being in Time, which I actually have a copy here. Um, it's a very big, very dusty looking old tome. Right, so I mean, you pick this up and you look through it, and even just the organization of the pages is something that tells you, this is something that's going to take a little time. You have to sit down and actually, put some work into this book. And yet Beauvoir supposedly read it like in an afternoon, like cover to cover, just super fast. So she is really an impressive philosopher, really brilliant woman. And this book here is called The Ethics of Ambiguity, and it's a remarkable work by her. What it is basically just this really concise, really I want to say critical but not overly analytical um, book that was basically just something that she put out to kind of get her thoughts out to the world regarding just the nature of ethics. What is an ethical problem? What is the purpose of morality? So some of these questions that you can ask of moral philosophy do not necessarily admit of easy answers. But I would say that maybe this book here could play more of a central role in the university philosophy curriculum that we have. And maybe if it did, some of these questions about what ethics is and what it means would seem less intractable. So let's scroll down just a little bit here. The first section is called Ambiguity and Freedom. And basically, if we look at the contents here, we can expect to see aesthetic attitude, freedom and liberation, antinomies of action, and the present and future and ambiguity are the sort of. Oh, I'm not reading that right, am I? The first one is just ambiguity and freedom, and then we'll move on to personal freedom and others. So we can see that for Beauvoir, one of the first concepts that comes up with regard to ethics is freedom, but it can't be addressed without bringing this guy in too and talking about ambiguity. So then section 3, this is where we really kind of get into the meat of the book. We've got these 5 sections, and basically this is kind of a taxonomy of what moral life means for Beauvoir and what it is. So she starts off with this quote by Montaigne: "Life in itself is neither good nor evil. It is the place of good and evil, according to what you make it." And essentially, what the argument here is meant to be a commentary on what moral philosophy is and where it comes from, right? So there isn't necessarily sort of any universal ruling that we have any access to anyway regarding what is good and evil. It has more to do with sort of what we make of it, what we make it. The old phrase, see no evil, hear no evil, yada yada, kind of comes to mind here. I'm just getting a Slack message. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get some of my friends to join the stream, and it looks like this was in a different that was in a different Slack, so that wasn't what I was looking for. Um, but okay. So looking at Montaigne here and knowing what we know about what Beauvoir wants to do with regard to ambiguity and sort of moral philosophy is we're going to be looking at sort of what life is at the underlying basic level, and not necessarily sort of some of these systems where people try to say, okay, an action is always evil if it is dishonest or something like that. There are assumptions that are built into all of those things. I believe Beauvoir would say, such that someone like Kant, who assumes that, and I think reasonably, he assumes that reason itself is the highest good. And from that core assumption, Kant is able to make all sorts of claims about, actions being good or bad insofar as they further or undermine the cause of reason itself. And honestly, like I think that's a really, really strong ethical position. I think we have plenty of evidence that that's exactly what's going on, or at least I did until I read this book by de Beauvoir, because we aren't obligated to necessarily, further reason at every stage of our lives. And if we do, I think we turn into kind of these nervous people that are just a bit of a mess, really. And that's not good. That's not where we want to be. So clearly there has to be something more to the science of moral philosophy than what we're getting from something like the Kantian read of Aristotelian ethics, which I would say that Kant is a very strong Aristotelian and does more than sort of anyone aside from possibly Thomas Aquinas to try to sort of take the Aristotelian position and update it to fit the values of what will become the Enlightenment. And then Beauvoir really does this interesting move here that I believe has a place in the postmodern pantheon of sort of philosophical philosophers, I guess. And so in order to understand where Beauvoir fits, one of the things that needs to be said is that in postmodernism, absolute knowledge is no longer a thing. It basically what I consider to be postmodernism in philosophy is the reaction to Einstein and Gödel. Einstein, obviously famous physicist, among many other things, he discovered Brownian motion and proved that atoms exist. And then in the 20s, he developed the general and special theories of relativity. Actually, maybe some of that was in the teens or even before. I guess it doesn't matter just a ton that I get that perfectly right here. But the thing is that in the philosophical world, during that time period, you had Bertrand Russell and Alfred North Whitehead. And what these guys are trying to do is codify the axioms of basically mathematics. If you've taken a math class in school, which almost certainly everyone watching this will have done, the language that you're learning was developed by Bertrand Russell and Alfred North Whitehead. And then Kurt Gödel, this mathematician who was a great friend of Albert Einstein's, came on the scene and basically said, mathematics isn't actually complete. Like you can't make a system of basically language that justifies itself, because the only reason that let's just leave it at that. You can't have a complete language. So the project that Russell and Whitehead were working on famously was known as Principia Ethica. No, excuse me, Principia Mathematica. Streaming stuff is kind of hard. You have to get everything right exactly the first time. But anyway, so Russell and Whitehead wrote Principia Mathematica, which was a mathematical textbook that tried to pretty much put everything into one place. And the idea that they would be able to do that is an Enlightenment idea. And essentially people think that the reasons that they enumerate for things being what they are real things. And they believe that they have access to objects that are outside of themselves, which is philosophically problematic for a wide variety of reasons. And so from this, the idea is that they want to find the theory of everything, the toe. And they think that they can do it by creating this magnificent artifice that's just the complete axioms of mathematics. And they want to demonstrate that mathematics is, in fact, an unbreakable system. And then Gödel, this mathematician, comes in and submits what they call the Gödel incompleteness theorem, which basically just throws all that work out the window and proves that it is not possible to do that. And so in the 20th century in philosophy, you have reactions to the incompleteness theorem, and sort of that's where postmodernism starts out, right? You also have reactions to things like the Holocaust. You have reactions to the fact that man now has nuclear weapons. You have reactions to the Cold War. It was a very, very interesting time in philosophy because humanity was, exploring so much new ground. Different styles of government, different styles of empire. Really all kinds of insane things are happening throughout the 20th century, just cover to cover. It's just completely chock full of these events that have never happened before. And so, understandably perhaps, you could say on some level that humanity's faith in anything ever being absolute is severely shaken by the 20th century itself. And if you look at Derrida or Deleuze and Guattari, or even someone like Robert Pirsig, what you're going to find is that all of these philosophers are, in their own ways, attempting to make progress regarding this problem of the fact that language itself is not absolute. And so in this video lecture series, the first handful of streams that I'm going to do with the Philosophy Underground University here, or Underground Philosophy, I guess, is the name I ended up going with. What you're going to see is that these various different philosophers all sort of approached the issue one way or another, and none of them was more successful than Beauvoir in The Ethics of Ambiguity. It's a historic book. It's a short book. And basically the thought is that what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here and I'm going to go through this book and I'm going to pull out some of the most significant passages. And the idea is that as a reader, what you might do is sit down and read the book and be like, okay, well, I have sort of a grasp of it, but I want to deepen that grasp. I want to increase my understanding of this book and why it's significant. And then you would want to come and you would want to participate in these podcasts. I mean, you could do it the other way too, but the idea is just that by sort of seeing the book yourself and then seeing what I see in the book, you'll be able to do what we call a critical reading of it, and we can work together on that, right? So you're not going to agree with everything I have to say about it, and I probably wouldn't agree with everything you had to say about it, but by both of us contributing our own perspective to the text here, to the reading of the text, we can each come back with something a little bit different than what we would have had, and a lot of times that means something better. So let's go ahead and just have one more look here at sort of the structure. I'm thinking a little bit about how I want to do this. I've already decided that the current video or stream is going to terminate here pretty soon. It's going to be called the Introduction to basically this class. So I don't really want to go deep into the text. I want to go back and I want to read back through it and come up with the best places to sort of start and stop, and have some idea of what the point is before I get started, so that these are really good lectures and people really like them. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to Also, sort of in this, kind of include just a little bit of what I'm thinking the viewer is going to get out of this class, which isn't me talking about the class, but me talking about philosophy. And so I've got this initial highlight here. You can hopefully see it on the screen. It's a bit of discussion where Beauvoir is discussing Sartre, and right. So the failure described in Being and Nothingness is definitive, but it is also ambiguous. Man, Sartre tells us, is a being who makes himself a lack of being in order that there might be being. Wow, I mean, what a tongue twister. That means, first of all, that his passion is not inflicted upon him from without. He chooses it. It is his very being, and as such, does not imply the idea of unhappiness. If this choice is considered as useless, it is because there exists no absolute value before the passion of man, outside of it, in relation to which one might distinguish the useless from the useful. The word useful has not yet received a meaning on the level of description where being and nothingness is situated. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. I'm going to go ahead and jump off this one.